welcome to First Crack. Round 8 is complete and we have Carlton, Melbourne and Essendon all high on the agenda tonight. My name is Jay Clark. I'm joined by the two best analysts in football. It is the great David King and also jumping Joey Montagna. How are you, boys?
Jay, lads, how are we?
Good to see you both. So it was Sydney by 17 points over Melbourne earlier today, and then the Gold Coast by 20 points over GWS tonight. And Joey, it leaves the ladder looking like this. And tell me that the Swans haven't emerged as the biggest threat to the premiership favourite Brisbane Lions. They're sitting pretty in top spot.
Yeah, they are. Well, right now they are the number one team in the competition statistically, but I think a lot of people agree if you are going to win this premiership, I still think you're going to have to beat Brisbane at some stage in September, but they are making a move. But I think really, as we've touched on the last few weeks now, and we've said it year after year, it emerges pretty early in the season, and I think those 6 teams right now are probably the best 6 teams in the competition. There's been a couple of sides that have been decimated by injury that aren't there yet. And Melbourne, and we'll touch on them later, but I think where they sit, they deserve their spot, bordering on the top 6 and definitely in that wild card round. I'd be surprised if they don't now play in the wild card weekend, Melbourne at the very minimum. And then a couple of teams we know about, the Western Bulldogs, the Giants we'll touch on in a minute, but they are languishing. And Adelaide are probably the disappointments of the season.
Big grim at the bottom too with Carlton, Essendon and Richmond, although the Tigers better at the weekend, Kingy.
Better, yeah. It's a tough start to the year for the Tigers with injuries and whatnot, but it was good to see some system, and we'll get with that later on.
You got the new ball, mate. What's your first crack?
My first crack is the holy trinity of inept performance, and it comes from the Carlton Footy Club, and all the pressure right now is on Michael Voss. And, okay, there's some liability there, there's some responsibility there, but I want to dig a bit deeper into the leadership group or the players that have been there for a while. They've got 13 guys that have played 100 games or more that played last night.
That's a lot.
13. I think if you've played 100 games, that's enough experience to shift a game. To make a stand in game, to have a defensive moment, a big tackle, a big spoil, a physical altercation, a confrontation of sorts. Doesn't have to be a report or a suspension, but when you've got 4 guys that have played over 200 in Wiedering, Sard, Cripps and Haynes, you expect those guys to be able to stop the rot. And I think that we're going to show some vision. It's all third quarter related. And when it started, they couldn't stop it. 6 tackles for the quarter they had as a group. So this is the first one here. You can just see the numbers already. So they're pretty much locked onto the back of the Saints. And just the separation that they allow. So the first of the holy trinity of ineptness is not having sufficient effort. And this is just a want. They clock off. You can see them all clock off, and Hill rolls and then gets that mark. Look at this here, same thing again. So as soon as the ball leaves the area, they just stop. They just shut down. They're already gone. And this is not a Paddy Cripps thing. This is all of them. This is Chera, this is Walsh, this is Williams, this is Sard, this is any name you want to imagine or throw into the middle of the ground. It's just so easy. I love this kid Garcia, and we've pointed him out. Now, I don't think he's the most talented player to ever play the game, but what he does, it just put Carlton to the sort. He just runs. He just turns up. And you know what? If he's lucky enough to be in the right spot at the right time, well, terrific. But what he creates is becoming quite significant. He burns past about 5 Carlton players here. And Cottrell really doesn't run the right lane, because if he does, he has to commit. He has to engage himself in defensive action that he didn't want to play in. This here, you train that. That pick-up would have been done 1,000 times this year by Ollie Florent. Not hard enough. You're a leader of this footy club now. You come in with that sort of price tag. Not good enough. This here is the cardinal sin. Look at how many Carlton players there are at the top of the square here. This is a snap kick gone wrong that in the end becomes an uncontested mark. Now, one of these guys needs to take responsibility to defuse this ball. And that is embarrassing. And that is, right there is why Jacob Wiedering is not a leader at this footy club. And you can tell me he's a vice captain. You can tell me whatever you want, but I'm talking about seeing leadership. Now, Paddy Cripps has broken out that tackle a million times before, so I'm not blaming him for this. But what's Cottrell doing there? So these are the structural things that have gone wrong. So he just leaves his opposing wingman. Fat side gone. If there's one pure possession, he's beaten. This is what I really want to get to. And I reckon we've shown Adam Sard on 15 edits across the last 12 months. So 20, maybe more. Yeah, we could put a half-hour show together just on Sardi, I reckon. But you got Williams and Sard. Now, what's he doing here in reference to his direct opponent, which is Cooper Sharman? He's just gone straight past him. Well, he was the spare, with all things in front of him with his vision to at least shut down the opposition if they were coming forward. If he couldn't realistically get there, he has to take the man jogging past him. So I feel for Michael Voss with this. And I don't blame him for everything, because in the first halves, they've been brilliant. We all know they've led 6 first halves for the year, and they've only gone on to win one of those games. So in the end, he gets the bullet, right? But if you're the new coach walking in, I'm coming in with a machine gun. I'm not dying on the vine with guys that are going to play selfish footy and not with the application that AFL footy demands. And I'm making a start. I'm Malcolm Blight style walking into Carlton.
Stephen King did it at Melbourne.
Well, we did. He's absolutely right. But Malcolm Blight came in way back when at the Adelaide Crows and moved on about 4 players that were Hall of Fame type stars and much loved players. I'd be doing the same thing. I'd be seeing what I can get for Jacob Wiedering. I'd be saying to Paddy Cripps, mate, we feel like as a club we've probably done the wrong thing by you here. If you want to go back to West Australia, we can get that to happen. I don't know, you might get a second rounder for him, you might not. And then I'm looking at Harry Mackay and I'm thinking, OK, have we really still got you, Harry? Like, are you really still invested in the game
These
for
are
Carlton?
big changes, King.
Well, I just don't think they're taking you anywhere right now. I'd love to get some truth serum into Graham Wright and find out what he's really thinking, because they did Charlie last year. And I think he said, OK, well, maybe we've got to go again. Maybe we've got to get more talent in. The talent's not there now.
He made the big call on Brodie Grundy at Collingwood. I think he'd be available or open to all options.
Yep.
It'd be Paul Roos. Everyone's available to trade. What can they work? What offers come in? I think it would be and everyone up for grabs sort of scenario.
Well, Wiedering's 28. I still think for a club that's in the window to win it, you probably get a first rounder and maybe a second rounder if you threw some cash in and subsidise things a little bit. But in the end, this group of leadership at Carlton are not going to take you anywhere.
Have they checked out? Is there a white flag about it all?
You know what? Everyone wants to make excuses for them. And that's just a little bit hard. They're in a form trial, and that's just unrealistic. It's the only time we make excuses for AFL players. They're all there to perform their task. Some are asked to do more, but they're paid more, and they've been around long enough. So I know Vossi will cop it for this, right? I know he will. But if I'm the new guy coming in, there is no way. No way they're coming with me.
Blues leaders on notice, strong stuff there, Kingy. So St Kilda, their offence in particular, the ball movement, very good in the second half. But bad news for Max King, the superstar spearhead, who played his second game back in the VFL, hurt his hamstring. It was his left one. Here's the vision. You can tell he pulls up straight away. And the Saints have confirmed tonight that he faces 6 weeks on the sidelines, and that includes 3 or 4 with the injury itself, and then a couple of weeks building up his conditioning. So 6 weeks away from a return potentially to the senior side. Joey, it's disappointing, but he probably needs another full pre-season because he hasn't had one in 3 years.
Yeah, it's such a shame because I think there was excitement in the way that he played in that first half, and unfortunately for St Kilda, they just haven't been able to get their best forward line functioning at all this season, because Max King would be a big part of that. But despite that, St Kilda's offence is starting to flow. They've kicked 100 plus the last 3 weeks. But one factor that probably I think's made a difference, and I'm calling it the Caminiti effect. Now work with me here, because Caminiti's come back in the last 2 weeks as a forward, as a key forward, and what that has done, it's the flow-on effect of the other players in the forward line. So instead of Cooper Sharman and Mitch Owens having to be the number 1 and 2 forwards and really struggling, and they were through that sort of rounds 2 to 5 sort of period of the season, I should say. The last couple of weeks, Cooper Sharman and Owens are starting to get back to playing the footy that the club expected, because they didn't have to be the main men in the forward line. It was meant to be King, and now we're coming back into the side is Caminiti. But you can look at Sharman's numbers. That's averages over the last 2 weeks. I mean, only 20 players have had 13 score involvements in a game up to this round. He's done it twice back-to-back weeks. And
you're saying Caminiti's the key?
Well, just by the structure of the forward line, having the tall in there to take the Wiedering and allow Sharman to then play on the Nick Hayneses and the second and third tall forwards, it's made a big difference to the forward line, the way it's gone about it. So it's looked like it should have. Unfortunately, it would be Max King that would be that player instead of Caminiti. But St Kilda aren't going to get that for a number of weeks. But it's been good to see them kick 100 points, put some score on the board, and I think they're starting to work into it. And what it's meant too with Caminiti back in is they haven't had to play Rowan Marshall or Tom De Koning for long stints as a forward. They were able to play more on and off the bench. They only played 73 and 74% of game time respectively. So when they went into the ruck, they were fresher, and I think it had an impact on their performance as well. They were able to push hard forward and do more around the ruck contest. So It's starting to look better, but unfortunately not with Max.
Unlikely hero, Kingy.
Yeah, it blows my mind sometimes. I don't know where he's going.
Flow-on effect of Caminiti.
Love the analysis.
The roll.
Well done, Joey. Time for my first crack, and it is the 6-week stand at Essendon. I think this is the most important 6 weeks of Essendon coach Brad Scott's coaching career at Tullamarine. Now, you think the Carlton fans are frustrated, Kingy, with repeat second-half capitulations. How do you think the Essendon fans feel about the decade-long defensive failures? And I'm talking about going back to Mark Thompson's days when he used to complain about it in press conferences. So we pumped the Bombers up over their win over Essendon. We're better against Gold Coast. But let's have a look at their defence in particular over the past 2 weeks. So they play good sides, clearly. We know at the weekend Brisbane and then Collingwood before that. But that is a defensive profile that we've seen from the red and black for far too long. And, we talk about the youth at Essendon, but this is their backline. Mackay's 27, McGrath's 28, Blackiston 27, Reid and Pryor 24, 25. So it's not an inexperienced backline. Yes, the midfield forward is, but this backline isn't young at all, and they're continuing to dish up this sort of stuff. And you heard Nate Caddy at the weekend. On this 3AW, Tim Lane asked him, your glass half full about the loss to the reigning Premier. He says, no, I'm sick of losing. He's won 11 games out of his last 34. He's the most important signature at Essendon. And Collingwood and Tasmania have got their claws into him. He's a $1.5 million man and so important. He says, this is mediocre. I'm sick of losing. So it brings me back to a comment from the president, Andrew Welsh, who said 3 weeks ago at Gather Round that he expects Brad Scott to be the next premiership coach. And everyone said, that's a job for life. But what they missed was this most important part. And the second half of that sentence is, we aren't going to accept things stagnating from a development perspective. Now, that is the most important asterisk in football because it puts Brad Scott on the hook, right? If things flatline or go backwards, as they have over the past week, then he's fighting for his job. And the president is really clear on that. Let's have a look at their next 6 games because I say the next 6 are super important. So GWS away is going to be tough. Freo, we know, is one of the best sides, right? So we put them to the side. Have a look at those next 4 games. Tigers, Eagles, Carlton, Melbourne. Now, that is when Andrew Walsh and the board of the Essendon Football Club will find out whether Brad Scott is their man beyond this year. I know he's contracted for next year because if there's not, there's got to be 3 things. There's got to be competitiveness. So we need to see wins. They need to be winning games throughout that block. We need to see growth.
How many?
And that's... they'd be wanting to split that. Of those 4, Richmond, West Coast, Carlton, Melbourne, they are all winnable games for the Essendon Football Club. So let's say at least half. So the competitiveness, they need to see growth, and that's the defensive stuff we talked before, the team game style. And we also need to see the development, and that's the individual growth in Farrow and Roby, who looks exciting, and Sharp, etc. So they're the 3 key factors I think Welsh will decide will make the really big call on. And this is not a new problem, as I mentioned. So let's go back to something Brad Scott said in 2024, a Herald Sun interview, all right? So he said, what do you make of this Essendon team? And he said what we're still thinking. Now, the Essendon teams have been pretty good for a while at attacking, no good at defending. And it was an easily identifiable trend for him when he stepped into the job through multiple coaches, through multiple eras. So this is his 4th year. The writing's been on the wall for a long time. And as we said off the top, they're still bottom 2 in defence. So we need to see a system and a game style with a backline that isn't that young. So it's the same old, same old. And this next 6 weeks is going to be the most important of his career, I think. Do you think we'll see a change, Kingy? How are you rating this sort of... it's a trend, let's be honest, for a long time.
Oh, look, I did an article for your paper, the Herald Sun, a month ago. Don't buy a cat and expect it to bark. Yep. He doesn't coach defence. And they can tell me they do, and they can tell me, yep, no, we value it. But the more we see, year on year, and this is not a 2-week, 4-week, 6-week problem. This has been the case with Brad Scott coach teams for a decade. So I'm at a loss as to endorse those statements because you can't. We just go on evidence, and the evidence isn't there. I mean, when have we seen them? We probably have seen them in patches do it for 4 quarters here or 6 quarters, 6-quarter run, but not consistently over a 6-week block.
No, and I reckon the only time they did, I remember talking about it, they were defending with ball in hand and they were trying to protect their back line a little bit, rather than actually improving. And again, I did the game for Fox against Brisbane, and they actually broke even. even with Brisbane around the contest and clearance, and they moved the ball pretty well. So two phases of the 3 phases of the game weren't too bad, but they had no idea how to slow down Brisbane and their uncontested ball game.
So I just want to show one bit of vision, because if we went through all their uncontested marks, we'd be here all night. But with Brisbane, if you allow them one spare teammate, they'll find him. Right? So if you roll a loose man back, and you did this game, Joe, and you called it perfectly. Draper's the one that finds himself free on the wing. So everyone has to get a man here. They're going one-on-one. So as soon as one player hasn't got one, you're in trouble. So Merritt right now is the spare in the middle of the ground. He doesn't have anyone. Everyone else is paired off. So it means someone else is rolling off the ruckman. He's just come back onto the ground, and there he is there. Now, there's really no communication. There's really no trade-ups and correction in flow. This was the slowest play you have ever seen. And this is why they're so easily picked apart, because there's no real genuine care.
No urgency.
No urgency. And it happened time and time again. That was why they were able to take over 160 marks a game, which is nearly a world record.
They were 1 mark off Brisbane, a world record.
Yeah. It's a big number, isn't it?
So they're big numbers. And so I can't... The words are the words.
Yep.
I think you're right. So 6 weeks. So what does he have to do? If you're saying he loses his job, does he lose it at round 4 at the bye? Or does he lose it in the season?
After that 6-week block, there is a bye, right? And I think that's where Andrew Welsh will pause to reflect. I think that Welshie is more ruthless than we give him credit. And then he fought so hard to keep Zach Merritt at the football club. And I think this next 6 weeks we're going to find out whether he's going to do the same for the coach, Brad Scott, which is harsh. But this is a football club which hasn't won a final for 20 years. He's not in a mood to muck around, I think. I don't reckon it is a job for life. Now, for workday numbers that matter, Joey, how did Brisbane go in the middle? It's an almighty midfield outfit.
Yeah, it is. And I talk about world records. They had a world record. It was their highest ever score from centre bounce clearance. They kicked 7 goals, 3, 45 points out of the centre bounce, and it was they just absolutely destroyed them. And it wasn't necessarily through complete pure coming out the front and putting Essendon's defence under all sorts of pressure. They were just hitting the ball forward, winning it, and then Essendon were losing their one-on-one battles when it went inside 50. We know there's talent there for the Brisbane Lions, but it was a very impressive part of the Lions game.
Your turn for your first crack, Joey.
Yeah, well, we want to turn our attention to today's footy, because we came into today thinking the Sydney-Melbourne game was going to be a beauty, the way the two teams play, and it didn't disappoint. I thought it was one of the games of the season, and Greg Swan would have been sitting at home watching that game today thinking, this is exactly how I pictured AFL footy to be played. It was pure, it was high scoring. But before I get into my first crack, I want to take a listen to the Melbourne coach, Stephen King.
Although we don't walk away with 4 points, I walk away really proud as a coach, knowing I've got a group of players that are willing to fight and scrap to the death and never give in. So, I think if you take that away from a game, it's a pretty proud moment.
So my crack is, even though Melbourne lost today, I thought they showed as much character, who they are as a footy side and what they stand for as much as in any other game this season, despite losing. Because they went up to the SCG against the number 1 team in the competition, who were number 1 for points against. They're averaging 65 points against, and Melbourne kicked 114 against them. But not only that, it was the way that they fought and scrapped right to the very end. They never threw in the towel. They never gave up. And you talk about a coach and what he has been able to do. I can't think of a coach that has started his coaching career better than what Stephen King has done. And we'll talk about what's happened, but in regards to selling his players a vision and a plan and then buying into it and believing it so early and seeing it so evidently is remarkable. And that's on top of what he's had to go through, moving on to the all-time club greats, Petrarca and Oliver, the big decision to say we don't want Stephen May at our footy club anymore. What's happened with Paul Guerra, it was a fractured and unhappy football club that now look like they are enjoying their football as much as they ever had. And I just think it's been a wonderful display of coaching. And maybe for some of the clubs that you guys have just spoken about, they could be looking at Melbourne and going, this is what's possible. It can turn around pretty quick if you have the right person at the helm and the players all believe and buy into the same vision. So I just thought it was a wonderful performance from Melbourne. They lost no admirers. If anything, I think they gained some admiration for the way they went about it today. And it was a brilliant game of footy. But they still couldn't beat the best team in the competition at the moment in the Sydney Swans. They were up for the fight. They went toe-to-toe, and it was the heavyweight battle for me that was fascinating.
Love this.
It was Brodie Grundy not going up just against Max Gawn, we're all excited about. It was Grundy going up against Max Gawn and Max Heath, because both of those guys played terrific games, and Brodie Grundy went solo, and not only did he go toe-to-toe with those boys, he came out on top, and I thought it was a wonderful contest. Kingy, you were watching this with me, and I mean, Grundy, talk about admiration. celebration. What he continues to do in game 250 was amazing. But Max Heath, he was given more opportunity today. Max Gawn played more forward, and this might be a bit of a long-term play, and we'll chat about that in a second. But for Max Heath to play the midfield minutes he did is another sign of Stephen King going, I've got my plan for the now, but I'm also looking at the long-term plan of the footy club, and he's been giving some more faith to youngsters, continuing with Caleb Windsor in there, and it was a terrific contest, and Brodie Grundy, it was amazing.
I thought, Brodie, well done, terrific, 250 games, outstanding day for the club and for him personally, and they just know how to celebrate them, the Swans. Yeah. They know how to do the right thing at the right times. But yeah, we talk a lot about Gawn, but Max Heath, he looks a different shape now.
Yeah.
Like we saw him at St Kilda a couple of years ago, and he looked a bit park footballerish. To do what he's done, it's a full credit to him. He looks like Mini-Max. He looks more minimum than Max.
Up. He's lost the puppy
Mini-Max looks terrific, and it's just great to see a young man dedicate some time to getting his body absolutely rock hard, and he's going to cash in for a long time. He's got some anger in his game, and his hit-out work was terrific.
And it could prolong Max Gawn's career.
Yeah.
If he can spend a bit more time forward, resting forward, not having to do so much of the workload, it's a nice combination at the moment, and they should persist with it.
Grundy, just about the most resilient footballer in the competition, traded from 2 clubs, got the boot. Extraordinary story. The emergence of a young Sydney forward.
You don't come in on Wednesdays, right? We come in to preview, and sometimes you've got to put yourself out there. You have the night off, right? Horney comes in and delivers gold like this. If you're missing it, here's the doctor on Wednesday.
What he is doing at the moment for the Swans in this forward half alongside Tom Papley is something that they haven't had as a footy club for a long time. You can see there, over the last 3 weeks, he's a top 25 rated player in the competition, and only Nick Watson is rated higher as a general forward than Malcolm Rosas.
Wow.
If you extrapolate that out for the whole season, he's still a top 50 player in the comp.
He's at home drinking his red cordial right now.
He's bathing in it. I'm telling you. Yeah, I had to ring him today. I mean, this is what he's talking about. So this is where the trends and the numbers take you to different views on the game. And yes, this is coming from an analytical background, but Horney was well ahead of time. This guy had 5 goals at half-time. He finished with 7. He's never put a performance in like this. Now, what a steal. 55 games deep into his career, 24 years of age. They've now got another weapon to throw at you. So when it's not Papley or Heaney or Warner, Goulden's still yet to come back. When it's not one of those weapons on the edges, now you've got to worry about the other small forward. So they're just getting another leg deeper to expose a mismatch or a poor matchup. So credit to Horney for putting it on the radar. And how exciting is this for the Swans?
Getting some of these picks right, like taking a bit of a punt and giving up not much to get Rosas in the door. You think about, Geelong taking the punt on Tyson Stengel, winning a premiership. Yeah. Malcolm Rosas doing that. These are the little things that the list managers get right that make a big difference come September.
Classic Moneyball pick and a bargain pick-up, right? It was the Gold Coast by 20 points over GWS Giants tonight, and Christian Petrarca, Joey's been a big story all season.
Oh, it was a big watch this game to see who was going to come out on top. Gold Coast now have beaten the Giants 16 of the last 17 times. They own them. And look, it was a scrappy first half of footy that both teams were going inside 50 and having chances and just not finishing their work. But watching the game, there was one man that stood out. You just mentioned Christian Petrarca. I mean, it's incredible what he's continuing to do at his new club. So they're now 5-1 when Christian Petrarca plays. So the only time that they've lost was the Hawthorn game when he was in the same side as Matt Rao for the only time this year where they had the all-4 play in the side. But again, his ability to just win critical ball, be clean, hit the scoreboard. Again, he's had the 29-2, 13 contested, 9 score involvements. And when you look at his season now, it's the 3rd time that he's finished the game as the highest rated player on the field. When he got injured in the round 2 game against Richmond, he was the highest rated player on the ground before he got injured and did the hamstring. And the other 2 games, 3rd highest rated and 7th highest rated on the ground. So it's just continuing on. And I just thought watching this game, when you're going, well, he's the class factor. He was separating between the 2 sides for big portions of it. And, well, they are very blessed that they got him into that football club, because I'm not sure they would have even won as many games as they have this year without him.
And he could win the Brownlow medal.
Absolutely.
This man. And what a story that would be after the life-threatening injuries. But
has he had more impact on the Suns than what Dangerfield had on Geelong when he first went there? Or are they like for like?
Oh, it's a good question.
Because I think that's the same change with the same contested side of the game. Yeah. All clearance. Very similar.
Maybe Danger's more prolific.
Yeah. Well, the other one that they basically got for nothing was Jamari Uhagen. I think he's going to finish this season as, at minimum, their second best forward. At minimum. This guy's now starting to work into his game, his craft. This here for me, this contested mark said, you know what? He's going to be a headache for opposition teams coming up forward. He finished with 3 goals, should have finished with 4. He's already gone past Reid. He's already gone past Walter. What a steal. You see him tackling, you see him invested, you see his teammates get to him, they're so happy for him that he's able to do this. Get him to a dry afternoon up at the Gold Coast and watch. There's a bag round the corner for this guy. What a steal. So they pay a heavy price for Petrarca, and then this guy just slips in.
A lot of clubs had given up on him too last year. You know, his fitness was way back. Obviously wasn't going to training at the kennel, so he certainly is a big story. And you've got him ahead of Walter already.
Yeah, he's definitely ahead of those guys. Those guys are not ready to take a game or rip a game to shreds like Jamara is right now. Well,
that means Walter will be a big story towards the back end of the season if he can't get a game. It's unfortunate for Sam Clossy for Gold Coast because he is in hot water with the MRO for this dangerous tackle on Ryan Anglin for GWS. Now, this is borderline because at the last moment when you slow it down, it's almost like he lets that right arm go a touch, but his head hits the ground, his night was finished, and gee, that's not a good angle, is it? So that looks to me 3 matches under the old matrix. Now, this year they've introduced a new little discount which gives Michael Christian the ability to downgrade it if he feels like it's manifestly excessive. So it looks 3 matches to me straight up, and potentially they can downgrade it. That camera from the reverse angle shows still a bit of a hold on that right arm and head hits the ground. And when you're concussed, that means the impact is automatically severe, and 3 matches is the starting point.
I think this is the one that why they brought in this little caveat, because it is the pub test. I don't think that deserves 3 weeks. I don't think anyone thinks that tackle deserves 3 weeks. So I think if anything, it's the one where it gets the 1 week, and I think everyone would be comfortable with that. Would you?
The middle ground.
Middle ground. Because remember, these are the ones that were going 3 weeks is too strong for that.
You got to go to court and defend the litigation that's coming. I wouldn't be mucking around with this.
3 matches for David King. Right, can't wait for AFL 360. It's must watch on a Monday night with Jared and Gary, 2 special guests. The senior coaches Damien Hardwick and Andrew McQualter. There'll be some tough questions for the Eagles coach to their loss to Richmond. And on the couch, always a great show with Jack and the crew. Geordie, Bucks, Tomahawk and Lee Matthews, of course. That's tomorrow night on Fox Footy.
But the guys are now quite familiar with what we're trying to get after. So there's some fundamentals that we clearly need to be able to clean up. But we've got to be far more defensively stronger than what we currently are against any side.
Yeah, we had our challenges up to half-time, and then, you know, our contest and pressure, we took the game off them with our run and our ball movement. So scoring off turnovers, so that was really pleasing.
It would be difficult to say who our best player was, just off the cuff. So that's always a good sign.
Kako, Caddy, Roberts, Sharp, Roby, Farah. Like there's reasons for us to be optimistic, but it's bloody hard at the moment.
We're dealing with a fair bit off the field with availability and things like that. So I mentioned at post-game, this would be easily one of the best wins I've been involved in.
This is a disappointing outcome, but we're not going to catastrophise it. It's not the end of the world. We'll butter up, we'll get to work, and we'll keep trying to improve.
Our pressure was super. We forced them into many errors ourselves in the first 3 quarters of the game, but in the times where we could have punished them with our ball use, we just weren't quite as polished as what they were.
Even then, I don't think it was the whole second half. It was really only probably the last 10 minutes of that 3rd quarter where it really felt like we got on top.
To this point in the season, it's been a bit of a grind for us, but I think this one was a bit of a momentum changer.
We're disappointed, and really disappointed for our people and our supporters, because it would have been a nice win.
Yeah, it's encouraging that we were close, but we do come here to win every time we play.
In those situations when we find ourselves behind in games, we're able to stay a lot calmer, more composed, and then fight our way back into games.
I'm unsure how to feel. To me, that's one of the great beauties of sport. I know there's a lot of talk about the draw and playing extra time, and despite I think we would have won if we had it. I'm sure Craig would have said the same.
You're a purist, happy to cop the draw and take 2 points, or are you...
Well, I think tonight we wouldn't have much left in the tank.
Yeah, it was a great round of footy and a humdinger on Friday night between the Magpies and the Hawks. A draw. Ned Rees for Hawthorn emerged as a very dangerous ruckman, King.
If I could choose one centre bounce hit-out ruckman to put in my group of 4 to win a clearance for my life
Your
right
number
now,
one pick.
he would be the number 1 hit-out ruckman to advantage.
Wow.
He is on fire in here. Now, I wouldn't pick necessarily the 3 at ground level, but in terms of being able to get your hand to the ball and direct it where you want, he is brilliant at the moment. Number 1 in the AFL for hit-outs to advantage, and this has become a weapon. They won the centre bounces 19 to 4 or 5 on the weekend. It was a real significant factor in the game. If they hadn't have won it like this, who knows? They probably wouldn't have got the job done. Joey, I love what he's doing, and I love the combinations that they're exploring. Now, we know Will Day's on his way back, and he's a top liner, so he goes straight back in there. But when you have a look at small advantages across the competition, so when you have Reeves in there with Newcombe and Nash, so that's pretty much been the main 3. Reeves is going much better than Meek is. In with Nick Watson as the 4th member, they're +5 centre bounce clearances on the competition. When that player is Mackenzie, +4. When it's Connor McDonald, +2. They're little advantages that extrapolated across the season give you a great strength area and another string to the bow of Sam Mitchell. I love what he's doing, and I think right now he's become a critical member of this Hawks lineup.
Absolutely, making a huge difference. And it leaves interesting with Lloyd Meek, how long they sort of use him as the second ruck. I just wonder whether when Marbiol Chol's fit and healthy, whether he may be to be able to play more that forward second ruck role, or whether they can persist with Lloyd Meek. But Ned Rees clearly now the number 1 ruck at Hawthorn.
My guess is that Tasmania think the same as you, Kingy. I think they make him their number 1 ruck target.
Really?
Yeah, there's two Hawthorn there. I reckon they'll try and make him their main man. That will all play out. What about Nick Daicos, the Magpies superstars performance?
Yeah, well, it's no fluke that the best 2 centre bounce clearance performances that the Hawks have had over the last decade have been both against Collingwood and in the last couple of seasons. So they were able to lay a body on him and keep contact on him, at times push him into the muck and get a return. Now, it doesn't always work, but they didn't allow him to run or freewheel in its speed like we've seen so many times throughout the course of the season. He only had the 4 clearances, only the 1 centre bounce clearance. So what they did with their planning and their scouting and their execution was quite brilliant. They didn't get led on this merry charge through. So just constant pushing in, body on. So there is a method to beating him. Even Nash gets caught in front, but he still wraps him from the front. So I thought it was brilliant planning. And there are ways to beat the Stars, and the Hawks have shown the competition that this is one.
It's great vision, because Nick Daicos, what he needs is separation. Just the slightest bit of separation, and then he arches the back and he can use his legs and get out. And I think Hawthorn have scouted that and understand that when you've got players like that, and there are a lot of others in the competition that have the fast feet, you lay a body on them, don't allow that separation. It makes it harder because they're not the big beasts. They're not the Cripps and the Petrarcas and Rows of the world. So I thought it was great tactically.
And clearly, without Pendlebury, they were impacted in there, so it was a different mix, and you're probably not going to get that luxury again. But there's one tactic against Nick that I think we'll see going
Cramping for room. Yep. Pendlebury back this weekend for the record. Equaling game against the Cats. You'll catch that on Fox Footy on Saturday night. It'll be an absolute beauty. What are you making of the Pies, Joey?
Well, I thought the Pies' planning in this game was brilliant. So full credit to Craig McRae for coming up with a plan that they thought could work against Hawthorn. And it was the old rope-a-dope. It was the old counterpunch. So this is how they set up at stoppage most of the day. It's called setting high. So their forwards weren't really deep. So what that allowed them to do is be in a position to be able to defend the ground and defend Hawthorn's ball movement. And then it meant in transition, what they were doing is getting high to start and then working back towards goal to take away Hawthorn's key defenders from where they feel most comfortable. And that's defending their back 50. They were turning them around and getting them to run away from goal. So there's Jamie Elliott on the logo. And you can see the forwards again. As soon as they think their team are winning the ball, they charge back towards goal and say, right, Hawthorn, your midfield, can you defend and go with us? Because we know how good your backline is. They're going to be the ones that want to intercept the ball and be able to come forward.
I thought you put the seagulls in there for a sec, the way they were
flying across the screen. Yeah.
It's like Flyers paddock a little bit.
It is, Flyers paddock. So the plan was get high, turn the Hawthorn defenders around and create the space and the separation to really challenge them. And when you look at the numbers of Barras, Battle, Scrimshaw, they've been averaging 20 intercepts between them this season. They only had 11 in this game. So a lot of the game was played in Hawthorn's forward half. But what Collingwood did, and we'll take a look at the numbers, is they played the rope-a-dope. So when they did win the ball from their back half, they were able to score. So 61% of their scores in this game were coming out of the defensive half. Their season average is only 36. So they probably defended more than they wanted to, and a lot of that, because you just said the centre bounce differential was huge. So 60% of the ball starting in their back half. But they had a plan. They were able to execute it up until the last 40 seconds of the game, which has cost them 2 points. But great planning, and they did a good job because they were undermanned. Managing some of their veterans, it was always going to be a tough ask, but they found a way.
And great vision, Joey. What about the fly trap?
I like
fly
it.
Trap.
Yeah, you're good with this stuff.
Cliche.
Yeah.
No, okay, so I'll keep working on it. Friday night, it was the showdown, and it was the Crows' just a thrilling game of footy, Joe. But tell us, who was the most relieved man in South Australia?
Great fourth quarter of footy. I love watching this. Well, this man owes Braden Cook beers for the rest of the year because Braden Cook kicks the match winner. But I want to watch Zach Taylor here. This is the second last stoppage before Port at the front. Zach Taylor has got Ollie Wines. He lets him run through the stoppage unattended. Goes to the very next stoppage. There's space there, so that's poor defending by Adelaide. But watch Zach Taylor again, second time round. Oh. So he lets him go for a second consecutive stoppage. First one didn't hurt him. Second one did. Port Adelaide hit the front, and you think, oh no, Zach Taylor would not have slept well, but luckily his mate Cook made up for it. So he is the most relieved man in South Australia this weekend.
Good spot. Beers for a year is it pretty expensive? I agree,
do you think Zach Taylor was more relieved than Greg Swan?
Yes.
All the controversy?
Yes. The Ark had another shocker on Friday night.
Hey, can I ask a question? I want you guys to give your opinion on this as well. What's happened to Riley Thilthorpe? He's through his back ailment, and we've given him some credits because he's been a staff factor player for a little while, and he can still do these things. On the weekend, we still saw him involved in the game and do some productive plays. You know, he come out on the lead, took a mark, set up a couple of goals. This fantastic play here from Rochelle to knock it back, and he was able to corkscrew this one back on the left, which was perfect. But that was pretty much all we see. I'm seeing him drop a lot of marks, and this is my real concern. He only took 2 marks for the night. We've just shown you one of them. 1 mark inside 50. Now, he had a quality opponent, but most of these are just in his hands. Up to him whether he marks them or not, reads the ball properly. I'm not saying it, not giving him an out of an injury because we just don't know outside looking in. What's going on, Joe? Yeah,
well, we know he had the stiff back, and we don't know where it's at now. But maybe now he's lost a little bit of confidence with his game because of sometimes with the injuries or soreness. But he hasn't been the same physically imposing player this year at all, and that's been the big difference between his game this season compared to last year.
I think it's undersold how many goals he got out of the ruck last year. Drifting forward, getting a mismatch, getting the opposition ruckman at times, and with Walker out, he's going to have to find his straps now. Port Adelaide have sort of snuck up on us a little bit, I think, this season. And some of their inside 50 work you have to see to believe, and some of their talent has shocked me with where they sit in the competition in terms of the rankings. For guys that kick the ball inside 50, this guy's a soft kicker. And he doesn't quite mark this one, but this sort of kick is exactly what you want to jog into. It's not going to break the hands. If you have got a meter, you can back off a fraction. Look at that, just beautiful. And Jason Burgoyne is the other one. So I love the way that he just, look at that, just these little kicks that are slightly to the advantage of the forward, Joey. And it surprised me. I thought, I'll go and have a look at who the best kick inside 50 is via the percentages. So every second kick for Jason Burgoyne is marked. Wow. Best in the competition. Butters is top 4 or 5, and Horn Francis is in the top dozen. So they've got 3 elite kicks inside 50 in a season that really is...
That's a big surprise, King.
It surprised me, to be fair. So it's a hunt for pure football this year. That's the challenge. So when you've got this sort of asset, how can you make the competition pay? I thought it was excellent.
Very good. What about the flip side of that coin for the Crows?
Well, they've got some work to do with their kicks inside 50, and I'll just show a couple because I just don't know whether they scan as much as they could, or they're just the inside 50 seems to be the victory, not necessarily kick to advantage or with any real precision or dare. Like, they've got options. Look at those options there leading up. You know, they just kick to the advantage of the intercept markers time and time again, and they say, oh, we can defend from there. Well, you have to because you've given the ball back. There's players out everywhere, top of the square. You've got an option there. It's Rochelle all by himself. I mean, you kick that anywhere and it's marked. They're not scanning. They're not checking their mirrors. They're not looking around. It's really simple. So look at Riley here. He gives a good lead. Like, he's a big unit. You put that in his path, he's marking that ball. Instead, they almost kick it to his opponent. So I just think that they're leaving 6 gilt-edge opportunities on the deck every time I see them blast that ball inside 50.
Matty Nix would like to see him hit those targets, that is for sure. Now, for Aussie broadband, speed of ball, Kingy, you want to have a look at Port Adelaide's ball movement?
I think Josh Carr's done a terrific job with this, and they are a constant threat now. We were waiting to see what he'd bring to the game, waiting to see what his stamp was going to be on this group, and it's play with dare. There's a little bit of Dean Cox, but a bit more by foot than with hand. Spread and go. If you see it and you like it, pull the trigger. So they don't care if they're kicking into the corridor or going quickly down the line or rolling and going. Look, that's the ruckman, just turning and going. Now, you'd love to see a little bit more handball in there to keep that freedom and that speed of ball going, but I love what they're doing. And I think that the footy world's been a little bit shocked, Joey, by the risks they're prepared to take.
That's the noticeable thing, isn't it, with the new coach? He's given them a licence to go for these kicks. And if they make a mistake, and this seems to be the way of the new age, a bit like Stephen King at Melbourne, hey, we're going to encourage you, if you're going to make mistakes, make them being aggressive. Don't make them being conservative, going lateral or going long down the line. Encourage your players to say, we want you to bite them off. If you can't, we'll set up a game plan so we can defend it, and Port Adelaide are defending pretty well, but they do have this ability to be able to go through the corridor, and when it comes off, it's hard to stop.
Well, that's why I think Mitch Georgiades is having a fantastic season, because he's seeing quality ball come through quickly. He's getting high quality entries and one-on-one opportunities. So it's a big tick to what Josh Carr's shown us in the first 6 to 8 weeks.
All-Australian candidate for sure. Mitch Georgiades. Right, we've got Richmond and Freo coming up after the break. On Tuesday night, you'll get all the latest breaking news and scoops with the midweek tackle team. Tuesday night, 7:30.
The Blues' opinion tonight, this is the worst decision since AFLX. This is a staggering rule. This is a joke.
The bombshell out of the Melbourne Demons today, sacking their chief executive, Paul Guerra.
Was instantly apparent to his president in Stephen Smith. He was never going to be the man to take this club to its next premiership.
The AFL, who does not like moving anything ever, but if it's going to happen once in our lifetime, could it be this game?
What I'll probably say is I'm not going to comment about what was written on that whiteboard, because from our perspective, it's private information. You know, somebody illegally took photos of information that was on a whiteboard and then decided to make a hero of themselves and put it out in the public domain.
Look, it's a problem for them to deal with, not for us. I wouldn't want that coming out of our building.
It's information that we keep internal. We've been writing the strengths and vulnerabilities of opposition players up on a whiteboard.
It's a tough game, and it's sometimes a psychological game too. If that's what's identified about you, then if you're a competitor, you respond to it.
And it's disappointing that we're sitting in here talking about this after a game of football today. Honest to goodness, private information. You guys wouldn't even know about it if that guy hadn't done what he did.
We'd prefer a little more detail, maybe better handwriting.
Interesting story, this one. The whiteboard, Merritt and Langford selfish, Eliza Sardis fumbly, Benny Mackay no confidence. Chris Fagan was wound up about it on the front foot in the press conference. What'd you make of it, Kingy?
Just ugly, isn't it? Just one of those unfortunate circumstances that if you're going to write things and leave them there, you know what's going to happen.
What'd you make of the Tigers?
I thought the Tigers showed some different weaponry. I thought it was expansive footy, a little bit of forward handball stuff that we haven't seen before. They had their best, most productive forward handball game for the season. And I must say about time, because we've been asking and challenging for this to come this way. So 267 metres they had for the season, which was terrific. I don't know whether the injury to Prestia caused some changes into their midfield mix, and obviously the absence of Taranto. So when they are ready and ripe to come back, I hope they stick with this younger, more fleet of foot model.
Yeah, finally we saw a little bit of modern footy that we want to see from Richmond. We hadn't really been sure of their style. It's all been a bit forward pressure sort of stuff, but for the first time they were able to score out of the back half, really, because coming into the game on the weekend, they were last in the competition from scores out of the defensive half of the ground. But this was what Kingy was talking about. You can just see them understanding, right, get on the bike, use some wheels and run and give the forward handball and keep the ball in motion. And when you do that, good things happen. So you can see there they only averaged 24 points a game for the season, but on the weekend it was 40 points. So they were able to get along. Look at McAuliffe here. That was probably his best game for the football club. Another one that's been getting some opportunity and starting to shine and come through. So it was pretty impressive. And these are some more of the clips from the back half that you really were impressed with.
Yeah, and it's just different, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you give kids a method, a way to win, and good things. This guy,
he's a star.
He's so underutilised right now. I want to see him in a centre bounces because look at his understanding too, Joey. Like he just weaves at the right time. He turns at the right time, and he's always maximum damage. What more? They need to, I think, explore what this guy can be for them going forward. I think he's better than what they're putting in the middle right now.
Spot on. He should be getting more centre bounce attendances and find out what he's capable of, because I think he's their most dangerous player when with ball in hand and on offence. So well done for Richmond to get the win. It's just nice as a playing group and coaching staff to just have that relief, see some signs and get some validation, and hopefully they can continue to put in some strong performances, and who knows, maybe a couple more winnable games.
King, you do love some of these young Tigers. You've been calling them the Ferraris all season. Now it was Fremantle with the win over the Bulldogs. What did you make of Hayden Young? He made a strong stand in that victory.
Well, I think 2 weeks ago I said I want to see him at half-back, and I'm just taking that comment right back. I was wrong with that. To see him do what he does in the midfield, we understand he can do this. And this has been something that we've really loved with our maximum damage players. You put them where the action is. This play here, just simply remarkable.
Oh.
When the game was screaming out for something from a Fremantle point of view, he was there. But it was when he went deep forward that really sort of challenged the game. And you know, we've seen him do this before, but not to this level, I don't think. We've seen fits and starts. So if you see him in the forward line, I think you've got to get this matchup 100% correct. And he probably requires a key. Like he's a bigger frame. Look at that handball there, straight out of traffic, and then he just has this way to put brilliance on show. So I love what he was able to show and able to do. The thing I want to throw to you guys is, given his injury history. So last year he missed 3, played 4, missed 9, played 3, missed 2, played 2. I think we've seen already this year he played 1, missed 4, played 3. For me, he's a no-fly man. There's some road trips that are up and coming. I wouldn't be bringing him to the MCG
Don't
to
take
play
him on
the
the
Bombers. No, I'd be just managing this guy. This is your point of difference grand final day. You've got to get him there in full health. If he's missing another block of footy, I fear for his body, and it lets him down regularly. So this is their number one priority for me. I wouldn't be bringing him to the G for that. I'd be 50-50 to go to Gabba. I sometimes think it's good to hold something up your sleeve anyway and not expose the rest. He'd probably play against the Kangas. That's only local anyway. Canberra, no way. He's not going to Canberra. So
you got him playing one of the next 4 games.
No.
On your
that's staggered. So the games in between, they're road trips. So.
Oh, they're the road trips.
Yeah,
sorry, 10, 12, 13.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they're the road. He plays at home.
Yes.
He sleeps in his own bed. Get him right, Joey. I'm just not taking him. I'm not putting him on any long flights.
Yeah.
Will be a careful management or injury management story for the Dockers for the rest of the season. His impact is enormous. You're right, Kingy. What about your Kangaroos? That last quarter lapse against the Cats.
Well, it was great for the Cats, wasn't it? And we fall in love quickly with teams that can score in a hurry, and this is exactly what they did. The Kangas actually led by 7 points with 7 minutes to go in the third quarter, and they said, righto, come on, we're going to get moving here. It was quite brilliant from a Geelong point of view, but my God, there's some changes to be made down back for the Kangas.
Again, 87 points they kicked in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Geelong. That's how much they put the foot down. So disappointing for North. I was watching, and again, I thought, gee, they are challenging the top teams, North Melbourne, and then just in the blink of an eye, they just gave up far too many easy goals, which they'd be disappointed about because they'd taken a number of steps forward, North Melbourne, but in that sort of late third quarter, last quarter, took a big step back.
Holmes, Smith and Manor back in a really good form. So these guys, they just need an inch and they take a mile. Great to see from a Geelong point of view. Kangaroos ruckman, Tristan Cherry, could be the angriest person I've ever seen play the game. He could be the most aggressive beast you've ever seen. I can't remember. Like, he is Shane Mumford on steroids.
Damien Monkhorst.
He got monkey covered.
Glenn Archer.
Well, Arch's scary.
Shimbo of the century.
Arch's scary. Yeah. It's a bad week to pick on Arch. Seeing him at the end of the week. But I think Tristan Cherry is the most intimidating man in football right now.
Had a huge night, didn't he, against the Cats. And young Mitch Edwards. I can't wait for Thursday night. We're going to see the Dockers again on prime time, the big stage against Hawthorn and up the stadium at top of the table clash. The Wizard will be there. That man, Hayden Young. This will be a brilliant game. Jackie Ginnivan. Always must watch. That's Thursday night on Fox Footy. Welcome back to First Crack. We're here at the Jamison Bar. And this week's Smooth Moves, thanks to Jamison Whiskey and their new Ultra Blend. Joey, who's got the Smooth Moves this weekend?
Yes, it was Max Holmes from the Cats. I love the way that Chris Scott continues to use him. Split his time almost perfectly, 30, 30, 30, 33, 33, 33, if you want to get technically a bit playing through the midfield, half back and half forward. Another 29 touches, 2 goals, big factor. In turning the game, continues to grow, and another one that a bit like Hayden Young, he's just a trump card that Chris Scott can go to. If they need someone behind the ball to help on offence, if he wants him to play forward of centre, we know he can hit the scoreboard, and he's also an elite midfielder. So loved his game, and he's a smooth mover.
Well done, Joey. Enjoyed the maths work too. You've been fabulous, David King. You're always outstanding. Lee Montagna, good night to you all. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you Wednesday night on the First Crack preview. Ben Dixon will be here until then. Bye for now.